How you guys doing today? I'm Eric E.T. Todman, and this is the Case Study Series. I've become great friends with his son, got to meet him in the process of that, and his story was fascinating to me, and I was intrigued by, how he just got to where he got to in life. So today on Case Study Series, today's case study is Robert Verrone. Robert Verrone, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. How are you, Eric? Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So, I don't know if too many people know who you are or what you do. So let's just start off with your story. You're obviously where were you born? Where did you come from?
Well, before we start there, I want to just thank you and all your friends for just being super kind to Joey for all these years. He loves hanging out with you guys, and he's learned a lot.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. My story is pretty simple. Son of Italian immigrants. My parents came over from Italy when they were in their 20s and had my sister and I. And we were born in Paterson, New Jersey, and we have a lot of relatives in that whole area. All the Italians that are my relatives, we all came to Paterson, and from Paterson we all moved to like Hawthorne, New Jersey, and North Haledon. So it was a very simple story of Italian immigration.
Okay. So you're so you guys came over here, started, got a little community going. Where'd you go to school?
Sure.
What interested? Let's first say, what do you do for a living?
So I have a business. I have a real estate kind of consulting workout business in New York City. Our primary business is we help borrowers who can't pay back their loans on commercial real estate.
Okay.
Not on homes, but on office buildings, apartment buildings, retail, shopping centers, hotels, that kind of stuff. So big commercial deals. That's a big part of our business. We have a debt and equity business where if someone needs money to buy something, if you want to buy a $100 million building and you need $30 million, we'll help you raise the equity or we'll help you raise the debt. And then the last business, which I'm more of an investor than a business, is we teamed up with someone who I've known since he was 20. He's 40 now, and we invest in a lot of apartment buildings in Pennsylvania, in the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania.
Wow. Wait, let's just go back to that number there. $100 million you lend out for deals, possibly.
Right. So I used to be a lender. So I used to work for a bank, and I was the one who actually made the loan. I did that for a big portion of my career. Okay. Now I help find the loan. So someone who wants to buy a $100 million building, they'll hire us to go out and find like a bank or a life insurance company to lend the money so they could buy the building. Correct.
Oh, cool. So the name of your company is Iron Hound Management.
Yes.
How did you guys come up with the name Iron Hound?
So it was never supposed to be a public name. It was supposed to be an entity on a deal I was doing with a gentleman out of New York City. But Iron Hound, I went to Don Bosco Prep, which are the Iron Men in Ramsey, New Jersey, an all-boys Catholic school. Then I went to Moravian College in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and they were the Greyhounds. So Iron Hound, and we combined them.
Okay, cool. So let's just say if somebody came to you and they have a small business and they're looking to buy a building for their business, how would they go about coming to you guys to find a loan in order to facilitate this deal?
I mean, we don't really advertise. We don't spend much time or energy trying to get our name out there from an advertising perspective. So usually if they have a decent attorney, the attorney will call us up, or they know us just from myself and the guys I work with from our prior lives. So it's most of the time they call us, they go on our website, or they somehow have a friend who knows us, and they would call us and track us down. On the brokerage side of the business, there are a bunch of other companies that kind of do what we do. I don't know if they do it better or worse. I think we do it better. But on the workout side of the business, we have a pretty unique business there. There's not really anyone else that does what we do.
Okay. So let's backtrack a little bit again. Let's just go back into your upbringing.
Sure.
So when did you really decide that this is what you wanted to do? How did you fall into the banking world or the loan world? When did you first become an entrepreneur, if that's the route you took? And just start from the beginning.
Yeah, so my father worked at his factory his whole life. My mom, for the most part, was a homemaker, and if we ever needed money, she went at a factory and made shirts. So I had no exposure to Wall Street and no exposure to anything commercial real estate related at all. I just knew, to be quite honest with you, I wanted to make money. I wanted to figure out a way to kind of not work 9 to 5 and not not have an hourly job, to be quite honest with you. And the few people I did know that seemed to be very successful worked on Wall Street. So I was very lucky that my best friend and my partner at Iron Hound, when we were 14 years old and I was in high school, his sister worked at a company called Bear Stearns, which was an investment bank in New York City. And when I was in college, she helped get me an internship. She got my first internship. She got my foot in the door, which getting an internship on Wall Street when you go to Moravian College and your father works in a factory is almost impossible. Probably easier now than it was back then. But she got me my first job, and I just kind of stuck with it. So I worked at Bear Stearns, got fired from Bear Stearns, got very lucky and went to a bank in North Carolina called Wachovia. Back then it was called First Union. Then it was called Wachovia. And we had just an amazing run. I joined a business that globally, when I joined, was probably a $40 billion a year business, maybe even $25 billion. And in 2008 was a $280 billion business. Wow. So I helped, I was able to kind of ride that trajectory of just as the business grow, right? You guys are all Tesla guys. It's like getting in a Tesla on the ground floor. Like I was very lucky to get in on this business early on as it grew. But then that came crashing down in 2008, and I had to start a business, so I started Iron Hound.
Wow. So you helped grow it from 40 billion, correct?
So the industry grew. So Goldman, all the people who did what I did, it grew from like probably close to 40 billion in 1995, 1994 to 280 billion in 2007. And the company I worked for, where I was a very senior person at that company, we had a great team. We were the number one originator, the number one lender of commercial real estate loans during that period. So we had a big market share.
Wow. Do you happen to have any numbers that you would say that some of the biggest loans you ever gave out, or something that people might recognize, a building that has been renovated or taken over or changed that you were part of that deal?
Probably the most famous building I was involved with was it's called Stuyvesant Town, Peter Cooper Village, Stuyvesant Town. At the time, it was a $5.5 billion purchase of 11,000 apartment units in New York City. So we were very lucky. We made that loan. We closed it in 30 days. We did the equity. We sold it all over the globe. Ultimately, Wachovia as a company made a lot of money on that deal, but ultimately the loan went in default for, and some people lost money, but, we didn't. But,
wow.
But that was probably, and they've written a book about it. It's called, I think it was called Other People's Money or something like that.
By John Kay.
I don't remember who wrote it.
I think it's a red and black cover with a guy with a cigar.
No, it was a blue cover. I'll give it to you. I have it at the house one day.
So
but I've been involved in a lot of big buildings.
Okay. So when you first initially wanted to change your trajectory and grow in the banking world, do you remember your first big check that you got and how you felt?
I do. My first big check I got was probably my second year bonus at Bear Stearns. I think it was $23,000 and before taxes. And I happened to be in the airport in Atlanta, Georgia, when my boss called me and told me about the check. And like a moron, I went out and bought a Rolex because I thought I was rich. And I still have that Rolex. I've probably wore it 3 times in my life, but it's actually, I think, worth a couple bucks now. But it's in a safe somewhere. But I never wear it.
Oh, wow. Well, Rolexes have been known to beat the market the last couple of years too. So you made a great investment, whether you thought it was one or not.
It was a stupid investment, but everyone makes mistakes.
So if you had to go back and tell yourself now, what would to buy something with that first check, what would you tell yourself to buy?
I would have just put it in a ETF and let it ride for 35 years and probably be worth a lot more than the Rolex right now.
Okay, that's cool. So I want to shift gears. I like to jump around. I don't like to keep the podcast stuck in any particular place. So we'll be going back into the past, going into the future of things,
Okay.
going into the current. So let's jump back. Let's jump back in the past, but not too far away. I want to talk about COVID. How did that impact your business? Because that's when you initially started Iron Hound,
No, we started Iron Hound in '08.
during the mortgage crisis.
Yes, during the great financial crisis. So COVID was, both were unique and crazy times, but COVID was insane. I was basically sitting here in this house, and all my guys I work with were at their houses, and we just had a lot of Zoom meetings, and our business basically tripled, right? So we're a very small group. We only have 7 people, so we can't take every deal on. So we had to pick and choose which deals we worked on. But I think at one point we probably had 75 or 80 deals, when I would say our average pipeline is probably 40 to 45 deals. So, we doubled. But we were, a lot of us, guys I work with were in the office almost all through COVID. We as a company went back September 1st, 2020. Everyone's back in the office for, full-time, face-to-face, 7 days a week working. We didn't really do a
Work from home kind of
work
thing?
from home concept more than the first 3 months, until the summer was over.
Okay. Wow. So how do you guys go about choosing what deals you want to work with? Because I'm pretty sure you said 75 deals, 45 on average. How do you figure out which one's the best deal to go with? How do you know something that's going to be lucrative for the group and for the client? Is it like a win-win kind of thing you go for, or is it like a win-loss?
Yeah, I think it's always got to be win-win, right? We don't really get paid unless we help the client out. So I think we're very picky in the people that we decide to work with, because all we have at the end of the day is we're selling hours, right? We only have a certain amount of hours a day that we can work, and you have to make sure you pick people that you think you can get a deal closed with. So we ask a lot of tough questions, and we always tell people, if you're good, if you're competent, if you know how to do a workout, if you understand how to run your building, if you have some cash and you're not a crook, right? You're not stealing stuff, we'll figure out how to get a deal done for you. But it's a great question, because we definitely say no a lot more than we say yes.
So when you do say no and you guys close the deal, is there something that once the deal's done, do you continue to work with the client if they need you, or if they want to pay you on a special basis to help out with it? Or is it something like once the deal's done, you kind of like say your goodbyes?
No, yeah, I mean, listen, there's definitely some deals that once it's done, we say our goodbyes, but it's never really done. There's always something else to do. So we never say, oh, you paid us once, click, pay. Like, we help people out as long as we need to help them out, and as long as we can help them out.
Okay, so you probably met a lot of crazy people in doing what you do. Who's some people that, what's a bad deal besides the one you explained that was in other people's money? What's a deal that you thought was going to be something lucrative for you, or just like a great deal, but something fell through? Either the person wasn't right, the business ended up turning out not being right.
We definitely, listen, if you bat 300, you're in the Hall of Fame of baseball. Unfortunately, in our business, right, if I make 100 loans, I'm going to make some mistakes on those loans. So, we've done some hotels in Caribbean islands that we just got destroyed on, and we lost a lot of money, and we maybe backed the wrong property, maybe backed the wrong business plan, the wrong operators. We've done some loans in New York City where we just lent too much money, right? We thought XYZ was going to happen, and that didn't happen, and it was not a good day for everyone who put money in that deal. So we've made a lot of mistakes over the years. I'm very proud of our lending track record, though. The company I worked for, Wachovia, if you look at, there's very public data, but if you look at the number of mistakes we made, it was less than like a lot of our competitors. So, some of the big names out there made a lot more mistakes than we did.
So I had a recent interview with a guy named HL, great guy. You guys recently met each other. One thing he said to me, and I want to bring this up to you as well. He said, "The game, the higher you go, is not as fair." How do you feel about that statement?
I don't know what he means by that, but I probably disagree 100%.
And why do you feel the game is fair the higher
I
you go?
know, I know 100 individuals who came to this country with nothing and now are super successful people who have day by day slugged it out and have never had someone say you couldn't do something. I think it's completely fair. If you're smart, if you work hard, if you have energy, if you're honest, I don't know. So maybe I just don't understand why he
Yeah.
would say that.
No, the context
I
was.
think the game is super fair.
No, the context as fair as like he said that when the higher you go in real estate and stuff like that, like the banks they kind of pick and choose who they want to work with, like depending upon.
What's not fair about that?
He's just saying that if you don't know the right person, it's all like some people do work hard, but if they don't know who they don't know, they really can't get through the door, or like they can't really get the deal done. It'll fall through because they don't know that person. That person doesn't want to work with you. So on that regard,
That's
sometimes
just
it's not fair.
find another bank or get to know another bank, right? I mean, if I'm an officer at a bank, I can't know everyone in the United States, right? So you have to develop relationships and find the bank and be loyal to them and help them make some business and do some loans. And then, again, HL is a very smart guy. I'm sure we're just I'm not understanding why he would say that.
Okay.
I don't think it's unfair to a real estate developer if a bank doesn't want to make you a loan. I tell my kids and I tell anyone who wants to listen, it's not easy to get rich, right? It's not.
This is why the case study series to me is it's interesting and it's important because everybody has their own way of getting to where they want to get to. Everybody has their own definition of success. Everybody climbs the ladder a different kind of way. Some people might feel like from 1 to 5, they've made it. Some people 1 to 10. Some people, they feel like 10, they need to break that record and push past that. So that's why sitting with you today is very interesting for me because just hearing those numbers, $100 million deal, $10 million deal from the low end is just, some people will never, ever see that kind of money in their life.
But you're not really seeing that money, right? You're borrowing that money.
Well, borrowing that money.
It's not profit.
Yeah, some people can't even get a $5 loan from the bank. So it's interesting to me that when guys grow up and they use their smarts and they figure it out, the things they're capable of doing, the things that they're able to do. So it's great. I have some questions.
Sure.
So I don't want to just spitball everything. Let me take out the iPad and look very intelligent for the camera. So let's go to, all right, so we went to Bear Stearns. Okay, so you've been known for providing large interest-only loans with a little equity down. How do you respond to critics who view this as overly risky?
Again, that was a long time ago. That article I think was in the New York Times.
Yeah.
And that was probably in 04, 05, maybe even before that. We were a southern bank that was trying to make a name for itself in New York City. So we had to compete. And one way we competed, if Goldman Sachs was going to lend 80 million, maybe we lent 81 million. So maybe we went a little more. And if Goldman Sachs was going to do 3 years of IO, maybe interest only, maybe we did 5 years of IO. So again, it's a fact. I mean, we tried to win business and we did what we had to do to try to win business, but those loans all performed relatively well compared to, those weren't the loans that we had problems with.
So is that how you got the nickname Large Loan Verrone?
I don't know exactly how there was an article written in 05 or 06 where a reporter used the name Large Loan Verrone. Prior to the reporter writing that story, no one had ever called me Large Loan Verrone. But I still hear it a lot now.
It's stuck with you ever since?
It doesn't bother me. It's funny, actually.
How did the 2000? Oh no, we'll skip that. Here's a good one. You mentioned growing up in a large Italian family. how was your upbringing influence your career path and business decisions?
That's a great question. I think there's a couple things. One is, absent the stupid Rolex I bought when I was 23 years old, I grew up with a very conservative family that taught me a very conservative, like, you never, you don't spend as much. You always spend way less than you make. You save for a rainy day. So that's just kind of how and you live within your means, and that's kind of how our family, that's how I was raised. That's how I hopefully am convincing that with my children also. Joey a little tougher.
He loves those Teslas, man.
Joey a little tougher.
Pause for a second. I gotta fix this. It's rubbing against your.
Okay.
We'll be back from a break from our sponsors now.
So what was the question again? Was how it influenced me?
Yes, how did your Italian upbringing influence your career and your business decisions?
Again, I think I grew up very conservative, and I tried to live my life conservatively, and I tried to, from an Italian heritage standpoint, we're very close, and I like to keep my customers and my friends and my relatives, we all are just very close and take care of each other. So it's just very, I run my business almost like an old Italian family. Like we take care of our customers, we view them as family, and we try our hardest to help them with whatever problems they may have. So that's, and we definitely live, kind of run our business and be humble and be grateful.
All right, awesome. Favorite Italian meal growing up?
Oof. I remember my mom's Sunday dinners. It's usually pasta. We used to call it cotoletta, veal cutlets, chicken cutlets.
Okay. Okay, can you discuss some key strategies or principles that have guided Iron Hound in arranging and restructuring over $20 billion in debt and equity?
Yeah, that number's way higher than 20 billion now, by the way. It's probably like 80 billion, but
$80 billion?
yeah, I think the first thing is we don't play poker with the cards facing down. We're very hands up, make love, not war, figure out a scenario that works for everyone. It gets the lender more than if they foreclose, gets the borrower, what they need to invest money into the deal. So we are we turn down a lot of deals because sometimes people want us to be very like kind of, stabbing people in the chest with knives. And we don't do that. We're just not that kind of group. We like to pick people that are honest, straightforward, and come up with a good, well thought out plan. And that's been the success. And listen, myself and Chris and John, who've been with Iron Hound since we started, we view the world the same. We're just trying to get a fair deal done.
Okay. 80 billion, that's kind of like still sitting with me, by the way. So since starting Iron Hound, what was your vision for it, and have you achieved any of the goals that you guys have set out since its original inception?
I would tell you when I started Iron Hound, I would never have thought I would still be doing this 15 years later. I really thought it would be something I did for a year or two until the market came back and until banks started lending again, and I'd go back to kind of doing what I did for the 15 years prior to that. But it's been so much fun. The people I work with are the best. The customers are the best. We don't have to deal with all the regulations that you have to deal with now if you're at a bank. We have no rules. We don't have a vacation policy. We don't have overtime. Like, we just have smart people sitting around a table working for a common goal and having fun. We still we try to make money and we try to have fun. We don't, I never thought it would last more than 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
Never thought it would last. I never had long-term plans for Iron Hound.
So speaking of long-term plans, when do you ever plan to retire? Do you see yourself retiring anytime soon, or?
I don't have enough hobbies and it's something I struggle with all the time is how long do you want to work for? But I tell my kids all the time, I've never had a job a day in my life. Like, I've always enjoyed what I'm doing. And as long as I enjoy it, I'll probably continue to do it for a while. So really no No time to retire.
Are there any emerging trends or technologies in the industry that you find particularly exciting or promising? You know, AI is the talk of the town. I don't know how that works into what you're doing, but
I don't know how it works either. I will tell you that since 1995 or 1996, every year or three, there's been a bunch of new companies that have been started, that have been technology focused, that are going to revolutionize the real estate industry and kind of put people like myself out of business, whether it's brokers or whether it's lenders. And there were a bunch of companies, I can name them, don't need to name them, over the years that always said they were going to change the business, and there's a bunch of them right now. I think real estate is such a face-to-face relationship kind of roll up your sleeves kind of business that I'm not smart enough to know what technology is going to change our business. I just tell you that everyone who's really tried to do it has kind of failed for the last 25 plus years. Right? There's some successful companies out there. Obviously, we email now instead of we used to have to send everything FedEx, or we used to do fax machines. So there are things that have made life a lot easier. But in terms of just groundbreaking technology that, we have 3 people in the office that underwrite assets every day, right? And people are always like, there's going to be able to underwrite an asset using AI. And by underwriting, kind of figure out what the property's worth. And maybe someday it'll work. I don't know.
besides the emails, what other technologies have been ushered in that you find have made the job more easier, but also harder to do? Because I know the face-to-face thing is beautiful. You can't escape somebody when they want to ask you something on direct. I find a lot of people hide behind emails. Like you'll send an email, they won't answer you. They'll be like, "Oh, I didn't see it," which kind of sucks. In your business, what has changed that has helped, and what has changed that has kind of hurt the business?
I mean, the technology just in general helps you move things quicker. I think the other area that technology has helped a lot is data, right? So if I'm underwriting an apartment building in Charlotte, North Carolina, I could go online now and with a few keystrokes figure out every other apartment building in the area, what kind of rents they charge, what occupancy they have, who's their lender, how are they financed. So the data is definitely much easier to do nowadays, right, because of technology. So that's where it's helped a ton.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. How did Iron Hound adapt to its clients' interaction strategies to effectively address the unique concerns brought about by COVID and the pandemic?
So COVID, I mean, we could do 10 days on COVID sitting around here. COVID was so unique in the world that we lived in. And I will tell you, because you got to remember, if you buy an apartment building, or if you buy an office building, or if you buy a hotel, the only way you're able to pay your lender is if people use your product, right? So if I bought a hotel for $100 million and I got an $80 million loan, if people aren't staying in a hotel, I can't pay the bank, right? So in a normal environment, if you can't pay the bank's going to try to foreclose and take your property. In COVID, everyone understood what was going on. So everyone, kind of got around the table and said, how can we help each other? How can we help society? How can we help the country? How can we help the businessman? How can we help the traveler? How can we help everyone? So, it was a genuine effort to figure out how to solve problems in a very human way. And, very, very few examples can you point to where someone got overly aggressive and tried to take someone's building. And even if they did, you couldn't get to the courts weren't open, so you couldn't even get to the court to get the building. But everyone was spectacular in terms of how they tried to help each other during COVID.
All right, so I want to shift to, the things you've learned from the business and things of that nature. What is the best piece of advice you've received in your career, and how have you applied it, and how has it helped you?
So a bunch of different advice. I don't know which one's the best, so I'll just kind of go through them. I mean, my old boss, Bill Green, used to tell me that, small borrowers become big borrowers. So a lot of times when you're new in the business, you want to go after the large real estate developer out there. And the truth is, the young 22-year-old kid, 20 years, is going to be the large real estate developer. So, I learned very early on in my life to develop very good relationships with all my peers. And because those peers are going to be the guys who run the real estate business in 20 years. So one is develop relationships with your peers, and definitely help them any way you can, like solve their needs, and just realize it's give and take over a long period of time. Some of the other advice work hard. That is, there are no days off in our business. It's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And, if I'm interviewing someone and they ask about our vacation policy, that person's never going to actually make it at Iron Hound. It's not someone we want to hire, right? We want people who want to work 100 hours a week. And obviously, if we're slow, go take all the time you off. If you have a wedding you have to go to your wedding. But at the end of the day, your job's to work. That's how you get successful. And there is no work-life balance in our world. There's absolutely not.
I was going to ask that too. So you don't believe in work-life balance. How do you feel about the kids or the millennials who are trying to do the work-life balance or figure it or try to work like the 4-hour work week or things
like the 4-day work week or those guys aren't for us, right? So there's a spot for them everywhere, and everyone. Like, I'm not saying the way I look at the world is the right way to look at the world. It's just the way we do it, right? So, if someone wants to come work at Iron Hound and they want to work from home a couple days a week, or they want to work-life balance, we're probably not the place for them, right? But if you want to come in, and I don't care if you're 21 or 51, and you want to work and help us make money, you're going to get paid very well, right? In our business, unfortunately, like, you get motivated by compensation, right? That's the only way I can motivate you, right? Is I have to be able to take care of you and pay you well for the time and effort you put into it.
So you mentioned there's only 7 people in Iron Hound.
Well, plus me 8, yeah.
So 8 people. So I don't think you guys are hiring just anybody. What's the filter process? Who are you looking for? Can somebody be recommended? And once let's say somebody's recommended, and they come over and they get to sit down, what's the process to becoming an Iron Hound associate?
Well, the first thing is you don't want to put travel on your resume. So if you give me your resume and under your interest it says travel, most of the time I'm not going to hire you, because we don't want people who want to travel, right? That just makes me think they want to post pictures on Instagram all day long. So I think we're we don't have a hiring process. When we need people, we hire them. A lot of times it comes through referrals. Sometimes we hire headhunters. And, sometimes it doesn't work out. And we've had a lot of people who I still consider my friends, and I consider them great real estate people who just, Iron Hound wasn't the perfect fit for them. So they're doing something else now, and they're successful there. So, we have a very one team, one dream. No one's paid on commission. Everyone helps each other out. We kind of all just come in every day and try to see if we can get deals closed.
So you say you're motivated by competition.
Compensation.
Compensation. Sorry. So you're motivated by compensation. Then I kind of don't want to ask the question, because then it kind of puts you out there. Like, what can somebody expect as far as compensation coming into working for Iron Hound? Like,
It all depends at what level you come in.
Brand
at.
new. Let's just say
brand new. Right out of college. Don't know anything.
College, doesn't know anything.
That's probably a base salary. Again, I don't think we're any different than anyone else. It's probably 50 to 75 grand base, and if they're good, they'll get a bonus at the end of the year of another 15 to 50 grand.
Okay.
Right? So you could make $75,000 to $125,000 your first year, maybe. Not terrible.
That's not terrible at all. For somebody
I
who
think
doesn't
that's
know anything.
great.
So if somebody
But
doesn't,
again, what I'm telling you is not. It's a very competitive position to get. There's not a lot of them out there, and most people won't do that job because that's 7 days a week. The younger you are, the more you're in the office.
oh wow,
I mean, these guys eat dinner in the office every night. They're on the weekends. They're there, and that's what I did when I was 21 years old. Right? We worked 7 days a week.
let's shift over to family. How many kids do you have?
I have 4 children: Matthew, Daniel, Annie, and Joey. And then I'm newly engaged, and my fiance has an 8-year-old. So I'll have 5 soon.
Newly engaged. So you are all these your 4 children are from your previous marriage.
Yes.
So tell me about your marriage before to your previous wife. How did that start off? How did you guys meet in order to start your family and stuff?
Blind date. She was a school teacher working at the bank that I worked on, and someone set us up. A blind date.
Okay. So I always like to ask about like relationships and stuff like that, especially with guys who like to work very, very hard. Do you find that it was hard on your relationship or?
Sure, very hard. Yeah, you have to find a definitely. You have to find a certain type of woman, right? That is comfortable that you're going to be in the office a lot or at business dinners a lot. It's just kind of what the business is.
Yeah.
Right? No one in the business, if I look at the top 20 people that I'm friends with, no one's home for dinner. No one's home for dinner.
Oof. You hear that? I like me and my friends have this conversation all the time, and in order to make it, I feel like you said, you got to find somebody who's working as hard as you, or who just like understands that, because women are the number one distraction. We might edit this out, but they are a big distraction sometimes, depending on what type of woman you have.
You have to find the right partner.
Yeah, and it's not easy because a lot of people, they want your life. We're sitting in one of your lovely vacation homes, and they want this, but they have no idea what it takes to get to like this typical level. I sold elevators for a year and a half, and the amount of dinners I had to go to, events, shaking hands, kissing babies, trade-offs. I would find clients that had nothing to do with my industry and refer them to people, and then that would come back and they would refer clients to me, and it's just like a never-ending cycle of just like working, meeting people, and a lot of people don't understand. They have no idea how hard it is to really even crack a certain amount of income.
I think the average person understands how hard Tiger Woods works, or how hard LeBron James works, or Kobe Bryant. What they don't understand is the average person that runs a business is working as hard as those guys, just not in sports. It's not as sexy, right? So I think if you went to someone and you said, hey, how many hours a week you think Kobe Bryant played basketball? They'd be like 100 hours a week, 7 days a week. That's how he got so good, right? But they don't understand that the average guy person who's running a business is kind of doing that also, right?
And still competing against other top guys who want his spot or are trying to stop him from even entering that spot.
Yeah.
So do you look at business as kind of like sports as well? Or what would you compare the game of business to?
It is kind of like sports. The business that I'm in, the real estate business, has such a large denominator of kind of money that could be made that I don't feel like I could live a good living and take care of my family. I don't have to do every deal, right? So there are people in my business who want to control everything, win every deal, and they don't like when one of their competitors gets a deal. I'm the complete opposite. Like if one of my competitors gets a deal that I didn't get, I don't get upset. I'm happy for them. So it's kind of weird, and some people may call bullshit on this, but I think there's plenty of business to go around, and we could all kind of live pretty nicely. And so I'm not as competitive as I was when I played college soccer, for example.
Okay. You're shifting gears back to your children. do you believe that they have your drive and your work ethic as well?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's interesting. They do. I 100%. Matt and Dan are working 80 to 100 hours a week right now. They just graduated college, so they're working in the city, and their mom and I barely see them because they're always at work. Annie was a competitive field hockey player and is now, studying 24 hours a day. And, Joey's the best. Nothing comes easy to Joey, but he grinds 24 hours a day. He graduated high school, and we have only super great plans for him. Joey, I could sometimes argue, has to work harder than all my kids.
Yeah, Joey has a drive, man. He's as far as some of the things that he does with us with Electric Torque and just staying up to date on everything Tesla, everything in the electric car industry is great. Like I said earlier, off camera, that he just sends us summary after summary of everything that's going on, and sometimes we're like, "All right, Joe, we need you to break this down for us."
Well, we just need to direct him to find a way to do that where he could actually get a paycheck. That's what we gotta figure out how to get some of that energy to not be volunteer work.
All right, so which one of your kids surprised you in their interests, and how do you help them in their career when they're falling down, or their interests, or do you just be like, hey, it's part of the game, figure it out?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want them to know that I'm always there to help. But I do believe it's part of the game, figure it out. Like there's a little bit of a school of hard knocks with them, right? Life's not easy. Like your mom and I are here to catch you if something terrible happens, but if you get yelled at by your boss, suck it up, right? It's life. So I think their mom and I are always there to help, whether it's relationship advice or, work advice. Whether they take it or not is a different story. It's a different story, but sometimes, we've tried very, very hard to let them live their lives. We don't call them 10 times a day. We don't text them 10 times a day. We let them when I went to college, I talked to my parents every Sunday, right? So I try to let my daughter kind of enjoy college, and I try not to bother her unless there's an issue.
Okay. Who do you feel like out of your children is taking an interest in what you're doing, as far as real estate or just like the more professional route, and who's like the artsy kid out of your kids?
So Annie and Joey are still young, right? They're freshmen now in college, so it's interesting to see which way they're going to go. My daughter Annie, I think, wants to go the business route, but she's only a first semester freshman. But I think she's going to intern with us this summer. Matt and Dan are 100% all in. They're New York City finance bros, kind of working, 7 days a week. So as of right now, they're all in, trying to see if they can make a career. And that's all they know, right? Because all my friends they've listened to 10,000 conversations in the car on every trip we've ever did where I'm talking about work, right? That's just how it was. Like there was no listening to music. I was on the phone and they had to shut up. They're used to that.
So when did it surprise you when, during the conversations when they would listen, when did it surprise you when they'd ask a question like, okay, so what is that? Or
yeah, they definitely asked a lot of questions early on, and they still do. So it's fun. It's fun that they're on their own right now in the city, kind of doing what I did when I was 21 years old. Making new friends, working 100 hours a week, squeezing in some drinking time when they're not in the office.
Oh, drinking's a very big part of meeting people, which is fun. It can get carried away. I've been at some holiday parties where I've danced and they got footage. Please don't release that. But the drinking is definitely fun.
The good news is they didn't have cameras back when I did it, so there's no footage.
So a guy who plays as hard as you, who works as hard as you, definitely plays hard. What are some of the luxuries you've gotten to enjoy, considering the fact of your career and some of the deals you've closed and made?
So listen, I've been very blessed. When you work for a big bank, and at the time we were doing a lot of business, and now having my own company and having a little bit of success, like I've been able to go to just wonderful sporting events all over the globe. I've done to World Cup finals. I've been to, NBA finals, NCAA finals, football finals, basketball finals, 10 Super Bowls. Like, so I've been to so many wonderful sporting events and concerts, and I'm very, very lucky in terms of the experiences I've been able to have. I have very generous friends. I worked at a company that was very generous. We had we had front row Nick tickets. Like, we had a lot of cool things over the years.
What was something that surprised you as far as an event you got to go, and who is somebody you always wanted to meet but didn't meet yet? We can start off with the first one. Like, what's one of the coolest events you've ever gone to?
So the World, Italy, France World Cup final 2006 in Germany, right? That was, I'm a soccer fan. I brought my dad. I brought my favorite friends and customers. We were able. First, I went out to Italy. I went out to Germany for the first round of the World Cup with one of my best friends in the business, and we went out and went to 3 different games, like Argentina versus Australia, U.S. versus Italy, and I forget the third game we went to. And we were running around Germany, just drinking and having fun and watching different games.
Wow.
And then I told my dad, I said, if Italy makes it to the final, I'll take them back. And I was able to take my dad to the World Cup final, which was pretty spectacular. So that's light years ahead of anything else.
Okay, that's always good when you get to enjoy your hard work and do something for your parents or do something for people you love. That's always cool. Commercial or private, as far as flying? Which one do you prefer? And
I prefer private. Anyone who's ever flown private is gonna prefer private.
Some people like they like they just like first class. They think that's fine enough.
Obviously, I mean, it's a tough question to answer without being. People are going to laugh at it, but yeah, private's awesome. Like, I've been very lucky. I've had some friends who've flown me private, and it's great.
Why haven't you bought a jet yet?
I'm not that guy.
Okay, that's the conservative Italian upbringing.
Listen, I'm also not that successful. If someday someone wants to give me enough money where I could go buy a jet, to me, to have a jet, you have to have a lot of disposable income, right?
Okay. All right, so back into the family life.
Yeah.
Your mother and father.
Yep.
What's one of the things that stuck with you that they've taught you to help you along in your life journey, and what's something that they were surprised that you were? Do you feel like they were surprised at the heights you've reached in your career?
They were. So both my parents passed away within 12 months of each other, like 5 years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. They were very healthy their whole life, got sick at the end, and passed away relatively quickly. Listen, my dad and mom were just simple and honest, and they knew nothing about what I did for a living. I mean, they knew what I told them, but they didn't understand it. They had no experience in it. They just wanted to make sure I was happy, and they wanted to make sure I saved my money, and I took care of my family and my kids. So, my parents taught me to be honest and family first, and just never do anything to hurt your name, right? Just be honest. Be
Reputation's
honest.
everything. I want to go into some books. We had a discussion a while back about some of the books you like to read, but the people haven't heard it. Give me what you're reading currently, and give me one of your favorite books that you've ever read.
So right now I just started Peter Attia. I'm 55 years old. So Peter Attia is a medical doctor who has a big podcast called The Drive, and he teaches people about longevity, things you could do to stay a little healthier a little longer. So I'm not actually reading it, I'm listening to it while I drive, to be honest with you. So I'm reading Peter's book and Dr. Attia. It's pretty good. He gets a little too deep for me, and then I think at the end of the day, there's just a lot of things that I don't know if I just would do. Like unfortunately, I enjoy going out to big meals and having a few drinks, so I'm never going to cut that out to live an extra 3 years when I'm 90 years old. I'd rather enjoy myself now.
Have the burger now, man, because eventually we're all going to the same place.
Yeah. So, but I'm finding the things in the book that I enjoy, and I'm trying to make changes little by little.
Is there anybody you ever wanted to meet that you haven't gotten to meet yet? and like have a conversation? Maybe in passing you might have met them like very quickly, but who's somebody that you want to pick their brain?
I mean, I think I've been very fortunate. I don't have I'm not very, I don't know what the right word is, enamored with celebrities. Like, I don't have like, oh, I need to meet Al Pacino or I need to meet Robert De Niro.
It doesn't have to be a celebrity. It can just be somebody like you find interesting. Like a lot of people find Elon Musk interesting.
Yeah, I think Elon Musk would be great to hang out with. He's just so out of control, and I love.
Oh yeah, man.
I love his story. I read a few of his books, so I do. I think Elon would be great to have a few beers with and hang out. I just can't believe like Elizabeth Warren picks on Elon Musk, for lack of a better word, and he's like the most successful guy in the country. She needs to just leave the guy alone and say thank you. But there's definitely some business people out there if I met, I would talk to and pick some words of wisdom.
Why Elon? Why does everybody find Elon interesting? What in his book that you read that you?
Well, I think again, I could be wrong, and maybe the book I'm only remembering what I want to remember. But it seems like he had a pretty simple upbringing. He worked his ass off, and he just said, I could do things. Like there was never the status quo, whether he was building a rocket, whether he was building a car. Like he just always found a way, as the word in your industry for you guys, disruptors, right?
Yeah,
he always found a way to say, fuck it, I'm going to figure out how to do this for cheaper, quicker, faster. I listened to all the Joe Rogan interviews, and he definitely loses me every once in a while. But
man.
but he just seems to be fun. I think he likes to have fun too. He likes to drink a beer. He likes to go out.
Yeah. All right. So let's go into personal reflections. As far as you, is there anything that you regret? Is there anything that coming to this point you wish you would have did a little differently?
I mean, listen. There's a ton of things in life. Whether it's I wish it would have worked out with my boy, my kid's parent, my mom, right? I wish Sarah and I would have figured out how to stay together for the kids, right? So there's always things that you wish you could have done differently in life. I love the way we both handled it post-divorce, and I think our kids have watched us coexist very well and not have to go through a lot of divorce kid problems, right? We got along very well. We stayed focused on our kids. There's people I've definitely fired in my lifetime that I probably fired them too soon, right? I'm still friends with them, but maybe I didn't give them enough time or enough chance. So I don't know if I have any regrets, though. I think, was that the question? Like, do I have any
regrets on or something you feel like you really made a big mistake on?
I think I made 1,000 mistakes, none of which have been catastrophic for me, right? Nothing has really changed my trajectory, right? But I've made a lot of mistakes, whether it's how I built Iron Hound, just definitely little things we could have done better. But overall, it's been a good
ride.
Good experiment, yeah.
All right, so let's go into knowing you more. Favorite movie and why?
So favorite movie is always Godfather. Like one movie, you're about to die, you got to watch it. It's going to be Godfather. However, if you said favorite comedy or favorite, there's definitely movies I love the Pitch Perfect series. I could watch, okay. If I'm on a plane going somewhere, I could watch the Pitch Perfect series all the time. If Superbad, Wedding Crashers, all those movies.
Yeah, but The Godfather reigns supreme against all of them.
You just have to, right? If it's over and you got one movie to watch, and then The Godfather's pretty good.
One or two?
Well, I would say I'd probably go with one then two, but I try to get them both in at the same time.
Yeah. Three doesn't exist.
It does. I don't mind it.
It does, but it's bad.
But
it's really bad.
I love movies. I'm
a movie guy too.
In my old house, I had a big TV in the basement, and my best friend used to come over every Sunday night, and we did it for 3 years straight. Every Sunday night at 9 o'clock, he would come over, and we'd watch a movie, and then he would leave when the movie was over, and we would say, okay, let's do all the Guy Ritchie movies, or let's do all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, or let's do all the, we just pick genres, and we would just do them, and we'd have the greatest time He ended up moving to Texas, so we don't do it anymore. But loved watching. We had a great time watching movies.
Favorite Godfather line?
Oh God, going to the mattresses, leave the gun, take the cannoli. I mean, there's so many of them.
Favorite character in Godfather?
Pacino.
Of course, Michael Corleone.
Yeah.
And The Godfather.
Tom Hagen's great. They're all
Yeah,
great
yeah, yeah.
characters.
My favorite line in The Godfather is children and women can be foolish, not men.
Not men. That's a great line.
Yeah, I love that line because that's how I live my life. I take responsibility for a lot of things. Everything that's going wrong is my fault.
Yeah, there's I guess we're a little old-fashioned like that. The men have a certain responsibility and protect and provide.
Yeah, not 100%. Today is different, everybody's going 50-50. It's okay.
You're not splitting the bill at dinner with with your
Nah,
wife or girlfriend or anything.
No.
Good.
I just feel like I'm not part of that crowd. It's just weird to me. I don't know. It's just not how I grew up.
How old are you?
I'm 37.
All right, so you're not 27.
No, I'm not 27.
You're not a kid anymore.
Nah, but
the kids are nuts. The way they act, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, they don't believe in the whole I told my friends too, and my nephews and little cousins, listen, don't get a girlfriend now. Focus on, if you find somebody who's willing to, work with you through the grind, through the grit, that's great. But other than that, focus on her career first, because the number one cause of divorce is financials.
I don't know. You may know better than I, but
that's what the statistics
I think
say.
what people don't realize, I tell people all the time, you go to college, you spend somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000 of either your money, your parents' money, or the government's money, right? When you're done with college, go work. That's what you spent all that money for, right? Go crush it. And whether you're a teacher or you want to work on Wall Street, throw yourself into it, dedicate yourself to it. It's not about you had 4 years to drink, right? You don't have to drink every night when you're out of college, right? You don't have to play in an intramural league. Work. That's especially if you have a business degree. That's what blows my mind.
Nah, they don't believe in that nowadays. They just,
there's a crew that do.
Yeah, no,
I actually think it's I think for those people who really want to grind and work hard and have grit, they're going to make so much money compared to their peers. So much money.
So let's shift on to other things. Favorite vacation spot? One place that you always kind of have to go to every couple.
Spring Lake, New Jersey.
Spring Lake, in this beautiful home. Why? Oh, I noticed. Why here? And talk about the awesome party you throw every year at this residence.
I mean, why here? Because I love the Jersey Shore. I love the people. I love my neighbors, my friends. I love the place I play golf that you happen to come visit. It's not too far from here. I just love everything about this place, and it's my happy place. And I've been pretty lucky. I've been to, I get invited to go to a lot of beautiful places in the world, and everyone knows from Memorial Day to Labor Day, it's hard for me to leave the Jersey Shore. So, we have a big party every year at the Spring Lake 5. There's a big race in Spring Lake in this town, largest 5-mile race in the country. Then afterwards, we all come here, and we usually have a band, and we have music and food and booze, and there was a lot less booze that was drunk when the kids were 15. Now that they're 22, they seem to drink a lot more than they.
Yeah, the pizza truck was awesome.
We had a pizza truck too.
Yeah, I don't know who that was, but shout out to the pizza truck.
Shout out to Rocco.
Rocco.
That's my best friend, one of my best friends, Rocco.
Yeah, that food was phenomenal.
Joey eats about 30 pizzas a week. Just so you know.
Yeah, he Joey had on the way over here, he called me. He's like, "Listen, I'm gonna have garlic knots and pizza for you guys." So I'm looking forward to that after this is done. Let's talk about sectors, right? Let's talk about the private lending sector, because you're currently in that now versus the what would you consider that, public?
Well, I mean,
Wachovia?
again, I'm not a lender anymore, so I don't take any of my money
Okay.
and lend it
No,
out.
you find the deals.
We
for
find
them.
the deals,
So
right?
let's talk about that private sector of that.
Sure.
Like, finding the deals. How is that different from when you were regulated and working with Wachovia and finding deals for certain?
I mean, I just think it's, the last 20 years since 2005, right? Everything has just got tougher. More regulation, more dotting I's, more crossing T's, more people checking, more human resources, more compliance. Everything has gotten tougher in our business. Where everything in the world has gotten easier. Right now, if you want to get a taxi, you hit a button on your Uber app and a car shows up 2 minutes. Like, our business is the complete opposite. So we used to close loans in 2004, and maybe the loan docs, like the note in the mortgage, was this thick. Now it's this thick, right? The legal bills used to be 10 grand. Now they're 100 grand. Our business has gotten significantly tougher and more regulated as a lot of things in the world have gotten simpler. We've gotten the other way.
So let's talk about the volume of deals you've done in the last 4 months, according to an online source. It's at $3 billion. Can you talk about some of the deals? Like, one of them was for $815 million on 220 East 42nd Street.
Yeah, so I think that information is a little dated.
Okay.
To be honest with that deal was a little bit pre-COVID, so I don't know what database you're looking at, but we've probably done about $3 billion the last 6 months, and it's everything from.
Excuse me, 6 months. My bad.
No, 3 billion. Yeah, I think the last 6 months has probably been about 3 billion. I don't really check the numbers. I don't focus on that. I kind of focus on what is our revenue and what are our expenses. If I do a $10 million deal and make X, if that's better. Sometimes I do a $10 million deal and make more money than a $100 million deal, right? So it really, for us as a businessman, it's what comes in as the fee. But we've done a lot we did some super creative deal on 57th Street with a lender in New York City, a $90 million deal that took quite a few hours, and it was a very complicated lease on the dirt underneath a co-op building in New York City. We've done a bunch of.
Wait. Let's not go too far.
Go ahead.
$90 million on the lease of dirt on a co-op building?
So it was, just picture New York City.
Okay.
Most people, if you see an office building, if you own the office building, most of the time you own the building and you also own the land that it sits on.
Okay.
So if you sold that to me, I would own the land and the building. That's called a fee simple deal. But there are a handful of buildings, maybe 10% of the buildings in New York City, 5%, where the land is owned differently than the office building.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's called a leasehold mortgage or a fee mortgage. So they're some of the richest people in New York City. You've never even heard their name because they own 400 lots of land throughout the city with office buildings on it, and they put a 99-year ground lease. So some grandfather bought a piece of land, and he sold it to someone who built an office building, and he told that guy, okay, you could rent my land for 99 years, and you pay me a check every month. And then after 99 years, I take your building. So now you own the land and the building. So there's tons of those deals in New York City. So we did a very complicated deal on 57th Street. That was a very hard deal. That was one of my hardest deals I've ever worked on. But we've done, industrial buildings, hotels, office buildings, everything all over the country right now.
Wow. I've never even heard of that. That's kind of cool.
Next time you're in New York City, I'll walk you by a few and explain it to you a little bit.
I plan on coming to the office. Can't tell you where it's at. Look it up. Iron Hound Management. That's definitely cool. I'm trying to think of so that I'm still kind of like stuck on that, like mind blown on that. What's the smallest deal you ever made when it came to real estate? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, we've done a few $1 million and $2 million deals. I don't think we've ever done less than $1 million.
Wow. Okay. All right, so I'm trying to think of some stuff now.
So we're at like the halfway mark.
Oh,
So you comfortable, you know.
okay. Halfway mark. I'm gonna put this down. I'm just gonna wing it now. Just talk to you from whatever comes to mind.
Go ahead, my man.
All right, so we talked about favorite movies. We talked about favorite food, favorite places to go, favorite band. No, first things first. I want to know.
Well, you should understand. So I have a different, like, again, when you think about like Spring Lake, when you mention restaurants, like you said, favorite movies, favorite restaurant, favorite places to go.
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of guy that goes to 10,000 restaurants. I'd rather go to 3 restaurants 150 times than 150 restaurants one time. So I like to go to a restaurant, know the owner. I tell my kids this all the time. Forget about when you go to New York City experimenting everywhere. Find 2 or 3 bars where you know the owner, you know the bouncers, you know the people who are serving, and become family. And that's kind of how I do it with my friends. We have 5 or 6 restaurants that we love to go to, and I try to impart that on my kids also, by the way.
Favorite restaurant?
So I have different ones depending on Italian, Chinese, whatever.
Italian.
Favorite restaurant Italian in New York City, probably Premola.
Premola. I've never heard of that. How's the food?
Awesome.
Favorite-
But again, what makes it awesome, there may be restaurants in New York City that have better food than Premola, but we know the owner. We never have to wait for a table. Like, we always know 2 or 3 other people that are in there having dinner, right? So it makes it's an event, right?
Okay, that's that. I like to experiment. I'm sorry. I like to jump to different restaurants, find different things to eat. I'm just like adventurous like that.
Yeah, and a lot of people are. I'm the opposite.
Yeah, I'm single, so it's like I'm always taking somebody new, so it's fun.
Right, I'm the opposite.
So, favorite hip hop song?
Holy smokes. Favorite hip, I was just at a birthday party where they had Snoop Dogg as the DJ, by the way. So that was
Little flex, little light flex.
That was a little humble brag, I guess. Favorite hip hop song.
One you hear all the time, you're like, oh man, this is it. This is my joint.
Or is there even one?
Oh, there's definitely one. This is gonna be on tape, so I gotta figure out which one. I mean, like "Bust a Move" was like the song when I was in college that we played at every party. So that's up there. But all of them. I mean, I like hip hop. I like everything.
All right, so favorite hip hop album that you just every once in a while you just throw it on and let it play.
Favorite hip hop album that I throw on. You're gonna have to edit this because I gotta think of it. God, I don't know the last time I used Spotify and I just picked songs. I don't know when the last time I actually listened. I mean, by the way, the favorite hip hop song is "Rapper's Delight." I probably have to go back. If I had to, my kids go crazy because I know every word to "Rapper's Delight."
That song was like 30 minutes long.
Yeah, I know every word. I don't know what my favorite hip hop album is. I mean, Run DMC has a few that I used to like. I haven't listened to a whole album in a long time.
Okay.
What's your favorite hip hop album?
Favorite hip hop album of all time is probably more than likely, I would have to say Blueprint by Jay-Z. That's literally my favorite album. I have the vinyl, I have the CD, I have it downloaded on my phone. I just like every once in a while to get myself going, I just throw that album on front to back. I listen to it all the time.
I don't know the last time I listened to a whole album. Like I just pick a song. Like I used to have when the first Apple iPads came, whatever they were called, iPods,
AirPods,
whatever they were
iPods,
called,
something like that.
You know, I used to have 20,000 songs on it that we all bought it from one kid in New York City for $100, and he just downloaded everyone's song. So I don't know the last time I listened to an album straight through.
Favorite, give me one of your favorite albums that you just like to play. Something that, you know.
You know, I love all sorts of music. So right now, for whatever reason, I'm into Neil Diamond. I just saw his show on Broadway, so I've been listening to.
Okay, Life Flex #2.
What does Life Flex mean?
That's like what would you say when you said the Snoop Dogg thing?
Humble brag.
Yeah, a little humble brag.
No, Neil Diamond has a show. I love Broadway shows.
Okay. Favorite Broadway show?
God, there's 100 of them. I loved Hamilton. I used to listen to the Hamilton album
Yeah,
all the time.
Hamilton's
by the way.
good. Hamilton's
I loved
good.
Hamilton. I love Book of Mormon. I like Les Mis. I like Broadway
I never got to
shows.
see Les Miserables. I heard that was good. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. That's horrible because I'm Haitian, so my French should be better than that. Never got to see that. I always wanted to see Cats.
Yeah, that's not playing anymore, but I've seen that.
Yeah, I heard that was
I mean,
phenomenal.
Broadway actors and actresses are so talented, right? So I took Joey to a show on Sunday. I don't know if he told you.
No.
Monty Python Spam a lot. So those people are so talented, and I definitely have fights with some of my friends. I would say 50% of my friends hate Broadway, and 50% of us love it, right? So I love Broadway shows.
Okay.
My fiance loves Broadway shows, so. We like to
Fiance,
go.
how'd you meet her?
I met her online during COVID. Hinge.
Wow. Hinge?
Hinge. In this house, I was. My prior girlfriend lived in another country in Canada, and I was always going up to Canada, and I wanted to. So I put a girl that lived within a 5-mile radius, and she lived 5 miles away, and we
Wow.
met 3 years ago.
And who says online love is not capable? I'm old school. I like to go someplace and meet a woman.
Well, it was right there. This was the height of COVID. So I would say for the first 2 months that we met, we just texted or talked. We couldn't even meet each other. And our first date, we went on a walk on the boardwalk 6 feet apart. Right? Wow. It was that whole COVID bullshit.
You walked 6 feet apart in your first date?
6 feet apart down the boardwalk. Yeah.
You hear that?
Oh, I'm sorry. The boardwalk was shut. We walked on the street because this is when the middle of COVID, they shut down the boardwalk. So we had to walk on the street.
Wait, along the road?
Along the road, 6 miles. Yeah, we walked for 2 hours.
6 feet apart.
6 feet apart.
Do you hear that, ladies? You don't need the $200 dinner. You don't need all that craziness. Sometimes, because there's a lot of debates online, and people talking about how much you spend on a first date. Your girlfriend happened to meet a very well-off guy, great guy, and you guys on Hinge, and you guys talked and walked 6 feet apart to get to know each other, which is so cool to me. It sounds that should be a movie. We might make a skit out of that one day or a movie, but it sounds.
So what put her over the top was I don't know if you remember the scene in The Godfather when Michael went to Sicily and he went for a walk with Apollonia on their first date, and Apollonia's whole family was following behind, and they walked through the town of Sicily.
Yeah.
So she sent me a picture of that after our date. Like she took a screenshot, she went online and said this was like us on our first date going for a walk.
Not knowing, did she know that Godfather's your favorite movie?
I think we talked about it, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. She's good.
She almost didn't go, like we almost didn't make it past the first time we spoke because, as you got to know me a little bit. I'm a little immature. So my friends and I, there's a bar in Belmar called DJ's, which is like a crazy New Jersey, just over-the-top bar that I was afraid to go to when I was 21 years old. It was filled with all Guidos and Guidettes, and it was just too tough. And now we go there every Friday. So I was telling her how we go on Fridays over the summer to DJ's, and she's like, "You go to DJ's as like a 50-year-old man?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so we like to go to DJ's. That was another.
Hey, it's good to do things like that because it keeps you young, keeps you refreshed.
Sure, it's great.
Yeah, everybody expects when you get to a certain age, you got to be in the house.
No way.
Being bored, that's not how I want to live my life at all.
We go there on Fridays at 5:00. We leave there at 8, and there's usually one person who isn't able to walk as well as they probably could have when they got in. We come back here, we order food, and we just hang out till 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Artistic side, because you have kids who are, 2 of them probably artistic, and are going to go into different endeavors instead of business. What do you do? What's something that you've done that not too many people have known? Do you draw? Do you paint? Do you collect?
I have zero artistic skills. No, I don't draw. I don't paint. I worked for a painter in high school, painting houses. But that's the closest I got. No, I don't have I have a lot of very, very good friends who have a lot of great hobbies. I'm trying to get better at golf. I enjoy skiing. We ski a lot, but I don't really have I don't play backgammon. I don't play chess. I don't really like to cook. I like to eat, but I don't really like to cook. I don't go for long bike rides. I don't climb mountains. I need some hobbies. So if you have any, just throw them out. And I don't collect. I don't like cars. I'm not a big car guy.
So you just like work.
I love work. I love work. I love going out with my friends and going out with my fiance and going out with my kids. Like I love going on vacations with them and doing interesting things. But I don't have like a huge set of hobbies.
Okay. So if you could give advice to somebody who's younger than you who wants to get into your position, besides work hard and keep your reputation clean, what's another cornerstone or table leg that you feel like must be done in order to get to where you are now?
I mean, I think you have to have the balance of not just the math of the business, or not just like learning how to build spreadsheets and stuff, but you have to learn how to have conversations. You have to learn how to go into a room and kind of disarm everybody. Like sometimes you're going into a room and everyone's ready to kill each other. You got to be able to say that joke. You be able to hug someone. Figure out a way to make people at ease. And I think the best people in the business are good at, like, they're very smart and they're very good at the people skills, right? So I think learning, a lot of kids nowadays just want to be very smart and learn the programming and the math associated with real estate, but they don't understand the human aspect of it. And I think that's very hard for people to get their arms around. And it's not easy, right? Some people are just introverts, right? Some people just don't like it. But you got to be able to go into a room, laugh at yourself, make jokes about yourself. I've made so many bald jokes over the years about myself.
Yeah, man. That's the number one thing I learned from in sales, and that's when I eventually made the shift, because I was originally like a project manager, but I've always Eric's the camera guy. Shout out to Photocop. He's known me for quite some time, and just meeting people, talking to people, we would just have interesting conversations. They've been trying to get me to do this for years, so I finally just made the plunge. But people skills, I believe, are on the high end of the list of people who make things happen, who move and shake, or just are able to have fun in life. If you know people, you're able to do a crazy, amazing things. One time, to the Marquee nightclub, we wanted to shoot that. It was me, Ziggy. We had went out. Ziggy's another guy. Obviously, a partner of mine in many other businesses, and he was standing outside, trying to get on the line to get into the Marquee nightclub. I'm like, no, bro, we're not standing on line. If you have to stand on line, we're not the guys who those guys are gonna look at as the guys. So I said, we need to wait and find the guy. So we're standing outside. He's pretending to be on the phone, and this guy walks out of the nightclub with a Dalmatian jacket, like big red Dalmatian padding, pattern all over the collar and the sleeves and everything. And then he's a little short guy. And he's controlling all the security. They're just listening to this guy, right? And I'm like, all right, that's the guy. Zig, that's the guy. Go talk to that guy. So I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna say anything. I just need you to do what you do. And Zig's great at people too. So he walked over to the guy. And he's like, hey, listen, we have some friends inside. We can't reach them. Whatever. We know you're the guy that you need to talk to. So he laughs. He's like, how you know I'm the guy? And he's like, he could tell from looking at you that you're the guy. He's like, how can he tell from looking at me that I'm the guy? And I'm like, hey, listen, everybody's listening to you, so you got to be the guy.
Right.
So he's like, you know what table are your friends sitting at? I'm like, I don't know. They're in VIP. So he goes in. He actually finds our friends. He comes out. He's like, all right, I'm going to let you guys in the club. So from there, I said, hey, I appreciate that. I don't know how to shoot. I don't do anything, but Ziggy shoots. And here you go. Here's his card. We're going to shoot something for you for free, just for letting us in and not having that, just that abrasiveness, that issue.
Right.
So the next day comes, and I call him, and he's like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, hey, we promised a free video for you, so, just let me know when you want us to shoot. And he's like, all right, cool, yeah. I don't think he took us serious. We ended up calling him back again, like 2 days, 3 days later. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm serious about this. I got to make sure I can schedule this in. He has the camera. I can get the camera crew involved. And then he was like, "Oh, you're really serious about this?" I was like, "Yeah, it's free of charge. Don't even worry about it. It's just, I appreciate you getting us into the spot with no hassle." So he's like, "All right, cool." And literally the first week we couldn't even get in the marquee, and the next week we had full VIP passes. So Eric, our cameraman, was there. He had a pass. Ziggy had a pass. I had a pass. My girlfriend at the time, she just bought her camera. I was like, "Just bring your camera. Put on your pass, and after we're in there, shoot some stuff, and then go have fun." So knowing people and getting to know people, I believe, is the most underrated skill in the world.
But you also have to treat everyone like, I had a customer who used to say, everyone's the same, what they do is different, right? So you treat the waiter the same way as you treat the owner, right? You treat everyone as if they're just a human, right? And so my friends and I think we treat everyone the same way. It doesn't matter if you're worth $100 billion or if you're worth $10, right? We try to just be nice.
Yeah, it goes a long way, man. And you never know, like you said earlier, you never know who or what that person is going to become if they hit that moment that just changes their trajectory, and they just like completely become like a boss tomorrow, and then they remember you. They'll always remember you.
Oh, of course, yeah, I agree. I think when people are trying to get a job on Wall Street, or they do it incorrectly, right? So I try to help people figure out how to interview, because you alluded to it a little earlier. Sending someone an email asking for a job is worthless.
Yeah.
Right. So, I always tell people, pick up the phone, call and stuff. So I don't know if any of that is stuff, but in terms of the story, I mean, whatever you want.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about getting a job on Wall Street now today. How can somebody go into contacting you or just contacting anybody who would, and it will pique their interest into obviously giving you a chance or a shot?
So again, I think that the majority of people who graduate from college and are looking for a job on Wall Street, I don't know if the right word is lazy, but they're lazy. Because they think that they can go onto a company's human resource page on their website, attach a resume, and now they're in the loop and they may get a job. And I can tell you, I worked at a bank for a long time. Anytime I posted a job online to hire, I already knew who I wanted to fill that position, right? It was just sometimes you had to post online because you had to satisfy the requirements that you opened it up to the world. So I always tell people that if you want a job, if you have any idea what department you want to be in, find out who runs that department. Call up that person, man or woman, and introduce yourself. Ask them to take them to lunch. Kind of what you do, by the way. You're very good at it. Like, just get in front of someone and say, listen, I know that I'm right out of college, and I know you get 1,000 resumes a week. However, just give me 15 minutes of your time. Let me buy you a cup of coffee, or let me come in and talk to your people. Or just submitting a resume online is such a long shot that you even get a response.
Yeah.
Right. I love to write handwritten letters. I write handwritten letters. I write typed letters. I make phone calls and email, like when I want to get in touch with someone.
Right. You write it out with the Mont Blanc pen? Or
Not with a Mont Blanc, with a Bic.
Oh,
with
a Bic?
pen,
Okay.
We're from Jersey here.
You didn't get too fancy on us. You didn't get too fancy on us.
A Bic pen, but we write a lot of handwritten letters. So I think that, I don't think colleges do a very good job of helping graduates really do something that differentiates themselves.
Or prepare for the real world. I have a 13-year-old daughter. I always tell her, you want to learn more about the real world? And she's like, yeah, Dad, of course. I was like, all right, junior high and high school prepares you for the real world more than anything else.
Probably.
Learning who to go to as far as guidance counselors or who's going to help you is super important. Learning who to stay away from, that they're not doing good in school, because obviously birds of a feather flock together. That's super important. And just learning, who are your real friends and who aren't your friends. Like, that's super important. There's a lot of decisions I've made in my life that were bad, that it was just because of the people who hung around. It was the wrong crowd. I didn't get a chance to graduate high school. I ended up getting a GED, but I didn't get a chance to graduate high school because the guys who I hung around with that school wasn't really their thing. It was more like, skateboard, hang out, chase girls.
Sure.
So
Yeah, no, I think again that's my parents were all over me on that. They made sure I picked friends that were at least wanted to graduate high school. They made sure I stayed away from the troublemakers. So I owe that to my parents. I have the same group of friends since freshman year of high school. To this day, we talk in text 30 times a week. I mean, we're all going out to dinner tomorrow night. There's 6 of us. We take vacations. We all went away this summer. They're here all the time. I'm at their houses all the time. So we have a very tight-knit crew since freshman year of high school.
wow.
And all our kids have become best friends. So not only are the parents friends, the kids are good friends.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
I always like to hear things like that. I've had the same. Well, the friends who they grow. Some of them have grown up. One of my best friends, I've been around him since he was 11 years old, and he grew up to be an amazing individual. Shout out to my friend Jesse. Oh, that's my boy right there. I plan on doing an interview with him too, and hopefully you'll get to meet him too one day. But yeah, it's super important. So I'm pretty sure you make sure your kids too have like good friends, and you vet them and check them out.
I try to. I think I did pretty good. I think they've done pretty well so far. There's a couple, I won't mention them on camera, that I'm watching. They're more of my daughter's friends than they are my son's friends. I'm only kidding, Andy.
So yeah, I think this was a great conversation. I'd love to do a part 2 with you in the near future. Because if I just watch this again, or people watch it and they have any questions or things that they feel like I miss, or I feel like I miss running this back, watching it, I'd love to circle back and just get that another time.
Anytime.
All right. So
we'll do it at the Memorial Day party.
Oh yeah. That's gonna be great. That's gonna be great. So once again, Robert Verrone, thank you for joining us today on the case study series, and this is case study Robert Verrone. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Pleasure.
Pleasure.